So how do we actually do this? How do we begin to find and live in and experience and enjoy the freedom we probably all would say we want? How do we do that? It's a question every teenager is asked, every person in a midlife crisis, all of us at various points in our lives. How do we live in this body and in this life with the freedom that we all seem to crave and value so much? And these days, how do we find that freedom, especially in a culture where all of us seem to be screaming at each other or blaming each other in one way or another, saying that the freedom I want and need and deserve and whatever I can't have because you're doing this to me or life is doing this to me. There's so much frustration that it seems sometimes like everyone is screaming and hollering at each other, trying to get this coveted freedom. It's easy to join the screaming. It's easy to want to join the screaming, to scream back, to holler and yell and say you're so stupid and you don't understand and you just don't get it. And if you just saw things more the way that I saw them, everything would be better. And we're just hollering back and forth in this crazy echo chamber. And we're all so damn sure that we're right and the other side is wrong. And you're imposing on me, and the only reason I'm imposing on you is because you did it first and because my way is right. And if you would just agree with me, everything would be better and we'd all be a lot more free. So I can get mad with the best of them, but that's not what I want to do here. I'm going to try in this video to mostly just ask some questions. And I guess the first and biggest question is, can we begin to face the truth that freedom is not something that someone else can give us? It's not that people can't matter to us. It's not that people can't help us. But that freedom that we all crave is not something that can be given, and it's not something that can be taken away. It can be pressured, it can be squeezed, it can be regulated. But I suspect that at some point in our lives, we all have the experience that there's a freedom that it just exists because that's how life is. There's a freedom that's here right now, no matter what else is happening. As I said in an earlier video, I first began to really feel that kind of quiet, deeper freedom when I had blown up my life and I was sitting in prison. And I began to feel that freedom even when anybody who was looking at me from the outside would have said, "You're not free at all." It's understandable that in the wounding that we have and the conditioning that we have and in this crazy, oppressive, violent culture we live in, that we are angry and we are pointing fingers and we do want, I need you to understand what you've done to me, and I need you to understand how much this hurts and how frustrated I feel because of that. That's natural. And one of the ways that we can begin to cultivate our freedom is to have the compassion to listen to each other, to hear that, and to understand and truly find a place of empathy for ourselves and our fellow human beings. But so often lately, we're weaponizing our anger. We're so damn sure that we are right and you are wrong. And my freedom depends upon your changing. My freedom depends on your being different. My freedom depends on history being different, on life itself being different. But it isn't different. And the freedom lies not in manhandling each other, not in trying to control each other into just the right ways of acting so that I feel finally like I can take a deep breath and be free. That's not how freedom happens. It doesn't happen because we control life into being the way we think it should be. Freedom, in my experience, in my personal experience, happens with a great, big, deep breath that finally drops down beneath the noise, drops down beneath the need to blame anyone else, to blame myself. We all want to join tribes when we're afraid and when things seem chaotic and the world is coming apart at the seams. We want company. We want the company of MAGA. We want the company of our fellow progressives. We want the company of people who are as angry as we are, or as oppressed as we are, or fighting for the same things. But as a teacher I used to love once said, it's all an inside job. Yes, the external things can matter, but that deep freedom comes almost in spite of the chaos. There's a deep smile, a deep recognition, a deep calmness that can come when you realize, oh, freedom isn't a future event. Freedom isn't when we elect a new Democratic Congress, or when MAGA becomes the party of perpetual power in our country, or whatever. None of these things bring freedom. Freedom isn't when the oppression that I have experienced is finally ended so I can finally be free. Freedom comes right in the midst of whatever it is that is happening right now. We all, in the United States, our whole history has glorified this fight for freedom. We think freedom is something we have to fight for, and of course, on some levels and in some ways we do. But that fight always puts freedom somewhere else, somewhere in the future, in someone else's hands. And freedom is never in someone else's hands. Anne Frank comes to mind, finding the freedom and finding the compassion for fellow humans as she was hiding in an attic from Nazi Germany. Viktor Frankl, I believe it was, who wrote the book after being in a concentration camp, just with such compassion and understanding and love for himself and for fellow humans. Freedom can be found everywhere. Nelson Mandela in prison, and when he got out of prison, imprisoned for, I think, 28 years in South Africa, simply for fighting for the freedom for the native people of South Africa. But he found a freedom in prison. He found a freedom that embraced the external freedom that he finally helped bring to his country. Freedom is an inside job. Freedom is universal and deeply, deeply personal at the same time. Your freedom and my freedom will be the same, and they will be unique. But they don't come because someone else gives them to you. They don't come when the circumstances are just right. They don't come at all. That freedom is here, right now. It's here in our political, financial, climate crises, with all the human drama and human violence and human suffering. That freedom is right here. We can find certain kinds of comfort and value and community and banding together. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of our human nature. But trying to find freedom in our tribes that are against other tribes, the freedom of conquering someone else. We won the election, we won that battle, we won that argument, so we're more free because we're more right. That's not what this freedom feels like. That's not what the deeper freedom tastes like. If you want freedom, sure. Fight for and against the things in our culture that are limiting freedom, the untruthfulness, the violence, the deception, the repression of so many of the beautiful qualities of human beings. Fight, stand up and fight in every way that you think you need to. Fight for what you believe in. But if we truly want that freedom, I think Christ called it the peace that passes all understanding, that comes in a deeper, quieter place. If you want that freedom, be that freedom, whatever that means to you. My path went through prison. It's a crazy-ass path to freedom, but that's what it took for me. Who knows what it will be, what it can be for you. If you want freedom, be freedom. Right here, right now. No one can give it. No one can take it away. Thank you for listening. Enjoy.